Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder, here to talk about, well, there's actually not a lot of news right now because everyone's on strike.
Yeah, not a lot to talk about, but we'll do our best to keep everybody entertained and informed. Saw Ninja in the chat earlier, so
Hey, Ninja.
welcome, Ninja. Um, if you are returning, welcome. If you are new here, what we normally do is we start off with our thing of the week, which is a particular media we have been consuming. This week, I made the pick, and I regret picking it. Yeah. And yeah, and then we get into box office talk, and then get into our topics. Although this week it's just one topic, but
Yes.
yeah,
But
but
first, we have
yeah,
an in memoriam.
yes, we had some sad news today.
Yep. Johnny Hardwick, the who's played the great Dale Gribble, aka Rusty Shackelford, over on King of the Hill, died at the age of 64.
Yeah,
Johnny, as far as I can tell, was more of a behind the scenes person in his career. Um, and I always struck me as very surprising that he never got or did any other voice acting roles. Now, part I guess could be that the role of Dale, uh, he isn't necessarily the most emotive, but that's part of the joke.
yeah,
So it might be hard to cast him as somebody else, but I don't know, man. I always just thought that he was missing something.
yeah. He it might have been one of those, like, they had like a maybe I don't know the story of the history of the create of King of the Hill, but they might have had like another voice actor that they were gonna have play Dale, but then for whatever reason it didn't work out, and they're like, "Hey, can like fill in?" Maybe it might have
Mhm.
been like a temp thing, and then they liked him so much they went, "Oh, well, do you want to do this full time?" And you're like, "Okay, yeah, sure,
Sure, why not?
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
have much else going on
yeah,
besides directing some low rent movies, and then his IMDb is very sparse.
yeah."
Uh,
Yeah, Ninja says, "Yeah, may you rest in peace." I should get to actually watch King of the Hill. I only watched it in passing. Yeah,
yeah, probably on Hulu, I think. Yeah, it's got to be on Hulu because it's a
yeah, I think
Fox
it's
thing.
yeah.
Um, Now, I'll also mention that story you're talking about, totally plausible because the same thing actually happened on the Dilbert cartoon from the 90s,
Oh,
where the guy who played Wally, who was like the laziest employee alive, he was, I think, like an accountant on the show, like on the for the studio, or just like uh, he was like a non-actor who Scott Adams heard talking somewhere, and he said, "That's our Wally."
yeah,
If I recall that DVD collection commentary track from 15 years ago correctly.
yeah, yeah.
But
But
and I think if we had enough of talking about good things,
yeah, yes. So this is
and
this
this is
is
the Star Trek that people said was actually kind of okay.
yeah. So I had the quote unquote brilliant idea for us to watch Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, but specifically the musical themed episode, which is titled "Subspace Rhapsody," and I can hear Freddie Mercury spinning in his grave. Uh, so, so full disclosure, yeah, I know.
Now that wasn't for you. That was for everybody involved in the making of this abortion.
Oh yeah, yes. um, so full disclosure, neither one of us have watched the show previously. I knew a little bit about it, but not not enough to care about it, not to watch it. I'm not I'm not a big fan of New Trek. I watched Discovery, or at least the first. Believe it or not, I watched 3 seasons of that show, and it was
Wow, that you eh, talk about the agony booth.
oh yeah, it was awful. And I watched the first season of Picard. I hated it. Didn't watch the second season. Third season is the only standout. Um, and of course, I haven't watched. Like I said, hadn't watched this show. Hadn't watched Lower Decks or the other animated show that got yeeted off of the platform. But anyway,
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Now Daniel's the big Star Trek fan. I think I watched like 10 minutes of Discovery once just on a whim because it was available somewhere, and I just did not enjoy it like at all.
Yeah. And it just said, please tell me it was research for a future project. I wish I could tell you that.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you that.
Thankfully, the actual plot of the episode is extremely easy to describe because it's okay. So this is the adventures of the Enterprise before Kirk became captain. So it's Captain Pike with Spock as his first mate.
Yeah, Spock was his science officer.
Science officer. That's right.
And and then Rebecca Romaine there, she's playing number one, and she's the first officer.
Okay.
And they were in the original pilot for Star Trek called The Cage.
Mm-hmm.
And so they basically, and then they showed up in season 2 Discovery. Pike was the captain of Discovery in season 2. But then they spun off with this show. So, but yeah, I guess getting into the plot of the episode, they encounter a subspace anomaly where Spock and Uhura are doing some sort of communications experiment.
They find this like subspace rift where it's like, oh, if we can figure out how to beam things through the subspace rift, we can we can do live communication between the 2 points there, which will greatly increase communication speeds.
Right. And so
that's a Star Trek-ish thing to do.
Yeah, that's a start. Yes, it is. But then they decide, as part of the experiment, to pump music into it. And this is where the whole episode goes completely off the rails. Because, they open up a door or a rift into another reality where everybody breaks out in spontaneous song.
Oh, is that what it was? I kind of glazed over and I thought there's like something quantum, something quantum, something possibilities, something.
Yeah, it was all of that mixed in with, well, it's another reality where this happens. At least that's what I remember. It's kind of hard to but anyway, so then that's where the musical aspect of it comes from, where they all just start spontaneously bursting out into song. And the chief of security, so most of the episode revolves around like not Star Trek stuff, not like Star Trek like galaxy. There's a little bit of the galaxy is going to blow up kind of thing that does come in there, but it's very, very minor.
Yeah, because basically, so they beam this in, and the reason that the music is a problem, because otherwise it would just be like an annoyance rather than an actual threat, is that the music is kind of overriding. It's basically forcing people to sing their feelings that they've been hiding out loud.
Right. Yeah.
And they open a communication beam to. Apparently, Captain Pike must have a girlfriend who's a captain of another ship.
Yeah, apparently,
is all I could figure, because they did.
Yeah,
because like they had it previously on, but I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. And she starts saying, "It's like, oh yeah, this beam could go through the entire communication network and spread this problem to the whole galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it spreads to the Klingons, and that's where the real problem kind of comes in, because the
Yeah,
Klingons want to go in and blow up the rift, but the problem is that they blow up the rift, the whole galaxy, or not the whole galaxy, but most of the galaxy is going to blow up.
yeah. Um, and so there's like the Star Trek plot, and well, I'll call it the Star Trek plot, and
Yeah.
then there's the relationship drama plot,
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
which I'm sorry, I didn't realize that Star Trek was a soap opera.
It's not. It's Star Trek. No, Star Trek is not okay. So from what I've heard, the writers they gained the inspiration for the show was from the new Battlestar Galactica, the most recent version of Battlestar Galactica, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Battlestar Galactica, I can kind of understand, even though the tone of that show and the stuff that happens in that show is completely different when it happens in Star Trek.
Right.
But Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's where you get the soap opera BS, and it's not Star Trek. It's not Star Trek. Like yes, there were interpersonal dynamics amongst the crew, but they weren't front and center of the freaking show.
Right. And quite frankly, now of course, I haven't been watching the show for 2 seasons, so I have no relationship to any of these characters. But the guy they have playing a young James T. Kirk, he actually isn't completely inappropriate for the role, in my opinion.
He's okay. He's more subdued than Chris Pine, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Chris Pine, but who is?
Yeah. But yeah, so that was one of the okay. That's the thing that ticks me off. Ninja Ask isn't Star Trek a space opera?
That's more Star Wars' thing.
Yeah.
The nature of Star Trek is it's basically you have whatever your core crew is for whatever show you're doing. It's like a problem solving show more than anything else.
Yeah. It's more geared towards it's science fiction, whereas like Star Wars is more like space fantasy.
Right. And I
Yeah.
suppose actually this kind of reminds me of Voyager. The dynamics in this episode because Voyager was more interested in the romance.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that I think was because of that they were stranded on the other side of the galaxy, and of course the fact that they had Jerry Ryan on the show. I mean,
Hey, D Rhino.
hey D Rhino.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. If 7 of 9 was on my crew, I'd be thinking about romance more often too.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, like most of the characters, like I mean, he like Kirk was okay, but like I don't like Spock. Spock is not Spock.
No.
Um,
Daniel, you threatened an unhinged rant earlier. Do you want to deploy it now?
sure. Okay, so Spock, and most of you, if you watch Star Trek, you know Spock he's half Vulcan, half human. But early in his life, he decided that he was going to follow the Vulcan way over the human way, and so when you watch the TV show, he's very doesn't he might occasionally display a little emotion, but not like over the top. Nothing just like I mean but he was always very stoic. He was always very logical, and
the guy died of radiation poisoning, and he kept it mostly together.
Yes, yeah. And so one of the interpersonal dynamics on this show is between Spock and Nurse Chapel. And if you watch the original series, Nurse Chapel was a character on that show. What's funny is you've got number one, who was played by Rebecca Main on this show, and then Nurse Chapel. In the original TV show, both of those characters were played by the same actress. Majel Barrett, who was married to Gene Roddenberry, but that's neither here nor there. So like it's hinted at in the episode, and they mentioned it in the recap that Spock and Nurse Chapel are like have a thing, and Chapel is going. She's going away to do some study fellowship thing, and Spock is really upset about it. Okay, no, that is not that. Spock would number one. Spock probably would not like. Okay, it was kind of hinted at in the original series that like Nurse Chapel had a thing for Spock, but Spock did not reciprocate.
That was the whole drama of the character of Nurse Chapel.
Yes, this completely undoes that drama, and it completely changes Spock in every way because Spock's like, oh, I'm very upset about this, and like, no, he would not be upset about it. He wouldn't. Number one, he wouldn't be in a relationship with her, and number two, like her leaving, he would say, well,
it's been a pleasure working with you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It wouldn't affect him in any way whatsoever. But this show just says nope. Going to completely throw that out the window.
Also, I have to question, why would a nurse be applying for that kind of science grant?
I don't know. Yeah, doesn't make any sense at all. And
from what I gathered of the songs, which we'll get into the songs in a minute, it's more like Spock was going, oh no. I think it's not so much that we have a thing going. It's more like we could have had a thing going, and I didn't realize what I had until it's gone. And oh no.
Yeah, it's just. And then, of course, then the other dynamic was between the aforementioned. He's a lieutenant, Lieutenant James T. Kirk, and the chief of security. And I looked up her name. Her name is La'an Singh. She is a descendant of Khan Noonien Singh. Why? It doesn't make sense. It's not necessary. And you got this. They had this whole thing where she's like madly in love with Kirk. No. Her ancestor is Kirk's greatest foe.
Although Kirk, he wouldn't know that yet.
Right, but still, at the same time, it's like it's just so ridiculous.
Now, let me give you a bit of irony when you think about it. Christina Chong, which means that she is Chinese, which means that it continues the proud tradition of not actually casting Indian people to play Khan, considering he's supposed to be from northern India.
Yeah, and he's played by Ricardo Montalban and then Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it's just and then of course then the third one was Pike and his girlfriend, which I don't care about that. I can't be bothered to care about that.
Right. So it's basically just a soap opera. With this song thing being used to force people to confront secrets that they've been hiding.
Right. Yeah. And make Asians evil.
Yeah, she was a protagonist, so it's not like she's actually evil. It's just like a very fan fiction-y idea. Actually, that is literally a fan fiction-y idea, because she's the descendant of Khan, and she has an unrequited love, or she has a requited love and relationship with Captain Kirk, or Lieutenant Kirk, because I believe that they had slept together in the past. So
figure
out a way to make her half Vulcan, and she's the original Mary Sue.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This whole thing just reads of really bad Tumblr fan fiction, but
DB might say,
yeah.
How about the music?
Yes.
Daniel, are you a big Broadway musical guy?
I am not. No, and that's it's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this episode is because I'm a Star Trek guy. You're a musical guy, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, neither of us were satisfied because as musicals go, man, this is like the most generic Broadway musical, like pop modern Broadway musical stuff. The songs went all way too long,
Hmm.
and like you might say, oh, it's on purpose because it's not like if Broadway musicals are spontaneously happening, they'd be good Broadway musicals. Like, shut up. These songs were long. You got the point of the song in seconds, and they weren't even catchy.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is of course them ripping off Buffy the Vampire Slayers and Once More with Feeling, the musical episode.
Hmm.
You talked earlier about them being inspired by Buffy. Hey, you know what the difference is between Star Trek and Buffy? Magic.
Yeah.
Now we were talking about it afterwards after we watched it, and I was pointing out you actually could have done this in the Next Generation because first off, you have some people who are pretty good singers, but also because you have Q. Q could have made that happen. That would have been an awesome Q subplot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and if the whole thing is like singing out the secrets in your heart, like it could be that Q decided to a make like a peace conference or a negotiation with the Romulans more interesting by making everybody start spilling state secrets through song,
Yeah.
and they have to figure out a way to counter the quantum whatever.
Oh yeah. Ninja says and one was made by an overrated creep. Yeah.
Yeah, Joss is yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just yeah.
But in this case, it's like they tried to justify it with like, and also hearing them talk about it. Next generation, you got into this bad techno babble habit, but this is going the opposite way, where it's too dumbed down. Like they talk about zippers and in space
Yeah.
time uh, and like
Yeah.
what is like somebody asks you, why don't we turn into or could we turn into bunnies? Like, no, I don't think we're going to. You know, if this can happen, or what are we going to turn into bunnies or something? Like, no, I don't think we're going to turn into bunnies.
Yeah.
Was the exact response from I believe Spock
Yeah, I think yeah, well, yeah.
or from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually one of the big criticisms about New Trek is they treat the science like magic, and it's and like you said, it just dumbs everything down.
Yeah, so
Of
it
course,
just
yeah,
wasn't good.
no, it wasn't. And then of course the coup de grace was at the end of the episode with the big finale, and you got the Klingons singing a like a K-pop esque song
With a rap break.
with a rap break. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like it's easy to like. Here's the thing. Okay, so you build up a character and you build up an expectation.
Mm.
Like we'll take Mr. Spock for an example. Built Mr. Spock. Mr. Spock is logical, emotionless, stoic. Even if he has feelings, he has them under such tight control that you would never know it.
Yeah.
Which then makes it tempting for a writer to go, but what if Spock lost control and was emotional? See the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films where he was. And the thing is, like, what it's interesting exactly once, but once you do that, and if it starts becoming a regular thing, then you've lost the essence of the character and the edifice,
Yeah.
the edifice that you've built up of the character. So conversely, if you're trying to make the Klingons out to be the big, a big threat to the Federation, like all the human songs were kind of bland and generic Broadway, but they weren't bad and they weren't like ridiculous.
Yeah.
You give the Klingons a rap break because that's what I heard somebody at work talking about that when this show came out. Like he said, yeah, episode wasn't too great, but the bit with the Klingons was funny. It's like no, that undermines the Klingons as a threat going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't take them seriously as a potential enemy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, mind you, they've been undermining the Klingons since Next
Next
Generation,
generation.
honestly,
Yeah.
but still, it's just not. It's not a great. Not great.
No. No. And and it doesn't make me want to watch the rest of this show.
No, it absolutely failed that test.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least I'm currently on a free period with Paramount Plus because I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to cancel my account." Like, no, please, we'll give you 2 months for free. Please just please find something you enjoy watching, and we'll show you some ads in the meantime.
Yeah.
Please, we beg you. We need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when a streaming service starts to do that, yeah, you know they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's I think
any more thoughts to add to this one?
New Trek sucks.
That's the conclusion I'm reaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here's my requisite pause to make it easy for Daniel to make the clips for the week.
Yes.
All right. In happier news, depending on your perspective, let's talk about the box office for the week
Yes.
or weekend, I should say. Actually, no, sorry. It looks like The Little Mermaid is at the top of the DEG charts, which probably means it's selling some digital copies and such.
Hmm.
So it looks like Barbie is on track to possibly outpace Mario Brothers. It's Mario Brothers released on a Wednesday, so it's which makes it a little bit obnoxious to compare apples to apples when you look at their weekends.
Right.
But Barbie's passed 1 billion, and what real competition is there for another movie to make $1 billion this year with everything going on?
I can't think of anything. I mean, yeah, you look at look at what's coming out. I mean, even there's nothing coming out this month. There's really nothing coming out, Thanksgiving or Christmas. I mean,
Let's see. That was the weekend chart. I was thinking Oppenheimer made 70 million in its third weekend. That doesn't sound right.
okay. Oh, the Meg 2 came in second, which is a little
Yeah,
surprising.
yeah. Finally broke the Barbenheimer duopoly.
Yes.
And the Meg actually. So Daniel never saw the Meg. I saw the Meg. It was at this. There's a period like where Warner Brothers. It seemed like somebody there had figured out how to make underwater monsters look cool. So they kept doing it. You had multiple Godzilla movies where there were underwater scenes. You had Pacific Rim. You had the Meg. You had Aquaman. Like somebody figured out underwater effects and just ran with it
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Warner Brothers. Um, I was not expecting this movie to do so well. Well being relative, but
Yeah.
it came in number 2 at the box office, launching in August, which is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
In a actually contested August, which is rare.
Yes.
But where it's really being a huge hit is China, and that's because in the original they had a bunch of Chinese characters who I'm presumably were played by major Chinese actors. So, not knowing anything about the Meg 2 besides there now being 2 sharks,
Yeah.
this is probably made for that market primarily.
Yeah.
And the budget is half of what an Ant-Man Quantumania cost you. So they could actually come out okay from this. So
Yeah, they could actually eke out some profit from it. Which
yeah, I mean, mind you, that 60 million from China, they only get like 15 million back, so you
right.
can't get too excited. But this it could be a baseline hit for them in the long run. Depends on how well it holds up.
Yes.
Oppenheimer holds in there for Universal, very healthy 38% drop.
Mhm.
its total cum is, yeah, it surpassed The Little Mermaid
Wow.
for a 3 hour, Mermaid's entire run in 3 weeks for a 3 hour documentary,
Yeah, yeah, historical drama.
historical drama, excuse me.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it's, if you look at the numbers chart, yeah, it's holding in there. Like it's at the towards the top end of the projection. So good on them.
Yeah,
Haunted Mansion at fourth place,
or
62% drop week over week. Or
fifth
oh,
place.
I forgot a movie. My eyes just
You just
glazed
completely
over
you
it.
just completely glazed over that one.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to number four in a sec.
Yeah,
Um, Haunted Mansion, 62% drop week over week. Another Disney bomb.
yeah, and I've been hearing mixed things about that movie. I mean, some people have said it's awful, and then some people have said it's okay.
Right, which on average means, some people are saying it's a three and some people are saying it's a one. Saying it's a one is probably number two.
Yeah,
Um, and also, these new releases have knocked Sound of Freedom out of the top five, though it's still chugging along.
yeah,
41% drop. Yeah, the meme might be dying out. The movement might be dying out on it, but you know, man, the money is made.
oh yeah, and it'll make more money once it drops on like digital and home media, and then I'm sure it'll be streaming somewhere. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep. Although I heard the people over at World Class Bullshitters pointing out that that movie might actually be one where you want to buy it on Blu-ray if you want to ever see it again, because uh, decent, because it's gotten politicized. Decent chance of it getting censored if it goes to streaming anywhere.
that's a good point. Yeah,
I guess let's look at the turtles in the room.
okay,
Um, okay, so this one is another one that's hard to compare
yeah,
because it launched, and this is what, like, the numbers projection line never knows what to do with ones that launch outside of the Thursday Friday.
yeah. It's yeah,
Um, it's seems to be completely bombing internationally, less than
oh
10
yeah,
million after a full week after more than a full week in theaters.
wow,
And its opening weekend was only like a little less than 30 million, I think. Yeah, 29, no, 28
28.
million,
Yeah,
outdone by Oppenheimer's third week. Now, I know people like Changus have said that it was actually good.
hmm
Like I've heard people who watched it said had good things to say about it. If I'm gonna watch a movie with Spider-Verse animation, I'm probably gonna watch Spider-Verse.
yeah, yeah. This movie really doesn't interest me. Like, I'm not interested in seeing it in the theater. I'll be honest. If I do watch it, it'll be on streaming, which the Ninja says worldwide gross is 20 million behind the domestic gross of Out of the Shadows.
Was
Ooh,
that the second
that was the
live
second
action one?
Bay. Yeah, the
Bay
second Bay
one, yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Oof, and that one was such a bomb that it killed the franchise.
hmm
Now, here's the difference, though. This movie only cost 70 million to actually make. So if this has a decent hold, then this is another one where it could eke out a profit.
Yeah. Or at the very least break even. Yeah.
Yeah. So good job.
Yeah.
That's right. I searched for Suicide Squad. That's why the word suicide came up when I put an S up in here.
Uh,
Well, if we look up Out of the Shadows, come on. Okay. Yeah.
what?
I forgot a T in Turtles.
Oh, okay. Still, it should have gotten you at least most of the way there.
Yeah. Out of the Shadows. How much did this thing? 135 million.
135
Yeah, this one
million.
cost twice as much. So it's
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, word of mouth can help. It all just depends on if the right people talk to the right other people about it.
Right. Yeah. And from what I'm hearing too, I mean, it's going to get a Paramount Plus show. Um,
And a
probably
sequel in the works.
it got a sequel, yeah. So
It's very interesting that I would almost think that this style, where it's like intentionally sketchy, would be more expensive, but
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I guess it shows
yeah,
you what CGI can do these days.
yeah. Yeah, it's sort of like like the like South Park. I mean, it looks cheap, but it's like no, it's
Mhm.
actually pretty state of the art animation that they use for that.
Yeah, because with South Park in particular, they ended up th- they made the original Jesus versus Santa short out of
Yeah,
construction paper and took them months and months and months. Like, now we're using computers for the actual show.
yeah, yeah.
So that's basically it for the box office. Not a lot of new stuff to report there, just because I would say the fact that the Meg domestically isn't terribly huge because it is a China market movie.
Yeah.
But I would probably say that it definitely helps these smaller movies that Barbenheimer is doing so well.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. And Ninja says he heard it's a removal of a filter in the animation process.
Okay, that would wow. I mean, if you're able to make that happen and you save a step, then that explains some of the 70 million budget.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have if you add that filter in, I guess it'd probably add another 20 or 30 million.
Yep. Or at least a bunch of rendering time.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the bombs of early summer are being swept out by the newcomers.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, I wonder if some of those movies are going, dang it, why couldn't we have released when Barbenheimer was making everybody want to go to the theaters?
Yeah. Yes, like Indiana Jones and
hmm
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission Impossible would have actually been some decent counter programming if it had come out, like if it had come out a week after Barbie and Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
buoying theatrical interest in things. That might have actually worked out for them.
Yeah, instead of doing it the week before. Yeah.
You know, but that's unknowable. But it's interesting to consider.
Yeah.
But you know who isn't having a good week?
Yes.
So we've been talking for months now about how basically every Disney project in 2023 has come out and just face planted.
Yes.
The biggest relative success is Little Mermaid, um, at 563 million, but it was a $250 million budget, so basically that's lost money.
Yeah. I would probably around 100 million total
Yeah,
total loss.
yep. So that's the type of thing you could, in theory, make up over time with alternative revenue sources, but still, it's just kind of an embarrassment compared to. It's basically, I think, the only Disney live action remake that, yeah, Dumbo did worse in 2019.
Mhm.
That was like one of Disney's few bombs in that magical year of 2019 for them.
Yeah, and who would have thought that a live action movie with Dumbo, directed by Tim Burton and starring Michael Keaton would bomb? But yeah,
Yeah. Meanwhile, you got that Cinderella live action remake. Okay, it's managed to outperform Cinderella, but Cinderella cost 95 million to make, and it came out
yeah,
nearly a decade ago. So and also it's 51 million in Blu-ray and DVD sales domestically. Little Mermaid is not making that.
no,
So some other people have noticed that Disney's been putting out bomb after bomb. So here's where we get into Disney's no good, very bad week.
yes. And Ninja says, when everyone jokes about how evil Disney is evil, there's no wonder people wanted to see people wanted to see their movies. Yeah,
If
I think
I
there's a
get
little
what you
bit of
mean.
that. Yeah. Mm.
Right. Um, so Disney's stock was down. It shot up about 5% today. I probably like a what they call a dead cat bounce, where people go, "Oh, it's a bargain
Yeah.
at the current price," but still, well down from what, like a $200 a share price a couple years back,
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
around
and
the.
even yeah, and even this year, I think it was over 100, wasn't it, at one point?
Yep,
Yeah.
for a good chunk of the year.
Yeah.
So let's dig into this a little bit. By the way, we are not financial analysts. Nothing we are saying constitutes financial advice. And I have a position. I have a small position in Comcast, who Disney is going to be trying to buy the remainder of Hulu off of. But that does not influence my analysis at all.
Yes. If you want financial advice, talk to your local financial advisor. Disclaimer out of
Yep.
the way.
So uh, let's talk about those Disney Plus numbers.
Mm,
Disney Plus actually gained 800,000 domestically, but lost. Let's see here. It was like in the last quarter they lost about 12 million net.
oof.
Now, most of that is related to the still unfolding story of them not opting to spend $3 billion to purchase cricket rights or streaming cricket rights in India that they would never actually make a profit on.
Right.
Because one of the things about Disney Plus's original numbers is that they had the Hotstar deal in India, is I believe what it's called, which was people were primarily subscribing to it for the streaming revenue, and it was literally less than $1 a month per for that subscription.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't charge a whole lot of money over there.
Yep,
For
at least not for that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I can say it's backed up by my experience as a Kindle Unlimited author. Like the relative size of the Kindle Unlimited, either the size of the user base or the amount of money they're putting in, it ends up being about a tenth of what somebody reading through my books in America would do.
Mm,
But
yeah.
so honestly, as much as you don't like to see 12 million net subscribers lost, it's probably a financial benefit for them not to have to pump data to those people
Yeah.
with as little as they were making off of it.
Yes.
But Disney actually had Disney recorded 2.65 billion in one-time charges and impairments, dragging the company to a rare quarterly net loss. Now, what I'm going to wager is that is where let's see here, EPS, revenue, yeah. Disney swung a net loss of 460 million or 25 cents per share for the quarter ended July 1st from a net income of 1.41 billion or 77 cents per share during the year ago period.
Mm,
So, yeah, big swing. Excluding the impairments, the company earned an adjusted $3 share. So aside from these like one-time costs, they actually were pretty well up over last year.
yes. And I know. I think they mentioned it in the paragraph below that the attendance at Disney World was down this year.
Yeah, they've been blaming the hot summer on that.
I don't know what that might be part of it. I think a big issue with it is that they haven't really done a very good job with the upkeep on those parks. They're starting to look a little beaten down. Some of the facade looks a little worn out. They still have not finished construct new construction on Epcot. They've been working on that for 6 years.
Yeesh.
Yeah, and it's just yeah, it's yeah. Disney World is not what it once was right now. It's kind of gone off gone down quite a bit.
Yeah. But it's always as always, it's the parks that, even with the attendance down a little bit or slowing down a little bit, it's the parks that are keeping Disney afloat.
Yeah.
And they're doing some interesting things that point to them finally going, okay, fine, we're not going to hit that what have they been promising for years, a 200 million subscriber. I think that was like a long-term goal that I've been hearing for years.
Yeah. 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 I don't know if that was like within 5 years or 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, they're making negative progress.
Yeah. Um, and and as such, they're actually raising the prices on or they're raising on, at least on Disney Plus and Hulu. They're raising the price on the ad-free tiers.
Yep. So now it's gone from $10.99 for ad-free to $13.99, which means Disney Plus is literally twice as expensive as it was at launch.
Yeah. In a almost 4 year period.
Yeah.
Man.
Inflation's been bad, but it hasn't been that bad.
Yeah. Uh,
I seriously think that they, well, actually, okay. So there's like a so what was it, Heinlein's razor, where it's like, don't attribute to malice, but you can attribute to stupidity instead.
yeah.
Uh, so the stupidity version is they just completely underestimated what it would cost to produce these shows, and that they were putting on Disney Plus, and they just naturally assumed, oh yeah, we're going to hit like 200 million real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, they thought that the subscriber base was going to offset all those costs, and nope.
Yeah, the malice version of it is that Bob Iger wanted his pet project to come out the gate with a whole lot of subscribers, and so he had them set the price low to encourage people to sign up, because, like, well, that's way less than Netflix.
Yeah.
The truth may be in the middle, but it's still
Yeah.
still an unsustainable price.
Yeah, it is. And well, and I will say too, they're not going to be able to keep that going if they spend, like, the amount of money they spent on Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that was like what, 200 million, 220, something like that.
200, yeah, or 200 million.
God.
Yeah.
But yeah, as this one CNN business article goes, the era of cheap streaming is officially over. There are still some companies like Paramount Plus and or still some services like Paramount Plus and Peacock that have pretty cheap versions. Like Paramount Plus with ads is still $5.99. I think the full version is $10.99.
Yeah.
But still, it's going to add up quick.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of the smaller streaming services are still pretty affordable. They're like $6 or whatever.
Yeah. Crunchyroll is still affordable.
Yeah, Shudder. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is that I listened to some of that, and Iger is really, he's following Netflix's lead in cracking down on password sharing.
Right. Yeah.
Because that actually worked out really well for Netflix, because they added a bunch of subscribers because they kind of won that fight. It's like, fine, I'll pay for my own Netflix instead of sponging off of my old roommate, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like everybody's going to have to get their own Disney Plus subscriptions instead of sponging off of grandma.
Yeah, that could actually be, in the long run, good for Disney financially, because a shared subscription is wasted server money and everything,
Right.
and a lost sale. So I don't necessarily, with as much as they're spending on it, I don't necessarily think that they're going to be profitable anytime soon, but this would honestly help them with that.
Yeah.
Unless of course that huge spike actually makes everybody, or it'll be interesting to see what happens to the subscriptions next quarter.
Yeah, especially when they're gonna have to buy Hulu.
Yes, that's the other reason that so they've been writing off projects to try to get tax money. They're clamping down on password sharing. They're increasing prices on things across the board.
Mhm.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're starting to like really cut marketing spend for these movies. Like, well, they're all losing money anyway, so let's staunch the bleeding a bit.
Yeah. Uh,
Unrelated, do you know what the toy is right now at McDonald's?
no.
It's the Marvels. I happened to be there yesterday. It's because this was when the movie was originally supposed to be out,
Oh,
and like McDonald's like, well, we're not gonna sit on all this inventory.
yeah.
Actually, when I worked at McDonald's like 15 years ago, they said that McDonald's pays the licensee to do the toys
Uh,
ca- because it is such a big draw for them. It's like, hey, man, we already paid for these toys.
yeah.
We're not going to have them sit in a warehouse for 6 months while you figure it out. We have a contract. We're doing it now.
Yeah.
It reminds me of 2020 when I was driving through Dairy Queen, and it was the summer of 2020, and darn it, we don't care that you've delayed Wonder Woman 84 to winter. We have the Wonder Woman 84 cups now.
Yeah.
Contract signed. Cups have been printed.
Yeah, we're putting these cups out, damn it.
But yeah, I'm usually I kind of enjoy watching Disney stumble just because, especially in areas where I feel like they have damaged properties that I have a long time affection for.
Hmm.
Uh, Being an adult about it, I kind of have to say that they are making some smart moves here because, like, well, if the subscription base isn't growing, like just to do a little bit of quick math here, if you have 100 people uh, paying you $10 a month, I'll just keep the number simple.
Yeah.
You're better off if you can get 80 people paying you 80 times 14. Yeah, you're making an extra $120 a month if you can make 80 people pay you 14. So
Mm.
that even if they lose 20% of their subscriber base on Disney Plus quarter over quarter, which probably won't happen just because of inertia and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they would still be ahead of the game.
Hmm.
So, but there's talk of them selling business divisions. They're
Yeah.
doing weird partnerships with ESPN and like betting services.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, they're talking about like selling off like Nat Geo,
Hmm.
FX, was it ABC?
Hmm.
Um, and there was also an unsubstantiated and probably totally erroneous rumor floating around that Apple was going to buy Disney. I don't see that happening, at least not for a
Yeah,
very long time.
I mean, Microsoft has had enough trouble letting, when they're third place in the console wars, letting them buy or getting people to let them buy Activision Blizzard. So
Yeah.
Apple, which already has a streaming service, suddenly buying the biggest entertainment company outside of video games in the world is not going to go well.
No. Uh, yeah. I was going to say something else, but let's say something else about that. But I completely spaced on it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the ongoing story of Disney. Again, if I was the CEO of Disney, these are some of the choices that I would probably be making. It's like, okay, we went to to use the phrase, we went broke. We went woke. We went broke. Well, if it isn't making us money anyway, get the tax benefits back.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Um, I could sell. I could see Disney selling Pixar to Apple.
Yeah, that would be really ironic to get John Lasseter back in charge because he's working with them
Yeah.
at this point.
Uh,
Uh, it's like, so what wow. So you couldn't deal with your failure, or where did it bring you? Back to me.
Back to me. Uh,
I think that might be one of the things I noticed about the newer Marvel movies, um, outside of the general quality. When you think about it, you haven't really seen them be very memeable either. Like you can tell that the memeable part of it requires people to have actually seen the movie first, of course.
right. Yeah.
But like think of all the quotes and memes around Thanos that float around there, like the one I just did.
Yeah. Perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Exactly. When was the last time you actually saw the only time I could think of anybody actually referring to a recent Marvel movie with a meme like that was them taking their stupid version of Modoc with the "Am I an asshole?"
Yeah. Yeah.
like that was like that, and that is not a good image to have going around to represent your movie or franchise.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Marvel. Yeah. The recent Marvel movies. I mean, uh, yeah. Like the dip in quality. It's the dip in quality, and it's just. I think it just goes to how bland they are now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bland is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Like it isn't even Taco Bell anymore, where it's like it's safe and generic, but at least there's flavor. Now it's Taco John's, which
Whoa. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, I went to they don't have Taco John's where I live, thankfully. My friend and I made the mistake of going there when we were on a trip in Colorado. It's like, where's the flavor? Now I have since had people tell me, no, with Taco John's you're supposed to add the spice packets. Like I don't usually add the spice packets. I don't usually feel the need to when I'm out driving around when I go to Taco Bell or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm out driving around. I don't want to make a mess.
Right.
So if you accidentally leave your flavor out of the meat,
Yeah.
that is not on me.
Yes. You have to do that when you're cooking it.
Yes, exactly. All right, so yeah, not a terribly spicy take. I care way more about how bad uh, that episode of Strange New Worlds was than Disney's current financial situation. It's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to point and laugh. It's like, I got to be fair in my analysis. They are
Y-
doing what you would do if you were a smart CEO facing their current issues.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to make tough decisions, and to stop the bleeding.
Yep. Excuse me. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a close for the evening, and
Yes.
at
Uh,
just about exactly the 1 hour mark too.
oh, nice. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the bell for notifications, and we will see you all next week. Good night,
Yep.
everybody.
Night, everyone.